Main topics will be: what are some price action details we should pay attention to when trading time-based models, turtle soup intricacies, and the bulk of the chapter is going to be addressing higher time frame order flow. Because without a good grip on the higher time frame order flow, your turtle soup will fail, because you'll be trading the distribution instead of the manipulation, thinking it's manipulation, right? Has that happened to you before? Is you think it's a turtle soup, you go on Twitter, you see me taking the turtle soup, you go into your own chart, you try and take a turtle soup, and you fail. It just keeps going higher. You open the chart, you go look at an old high, you randomly short, and you get liquidated. Does that sound familiar? And it probably does. The reason is because you weren't in alignment with the higher time frame order flow. And by higher, I mean relatively higher. All right, 1 hour bullish order flow will give you a 5 minute, 1 minute bullish turtle soup, right? And so on. So when I say higher time frame, I mean relatively higher to the time frame you're looking at right now. That's in specific, but in general, when someone is saying higher time frame, when you hear ICT or me or anyone saying higher time frame, then usually what is referred to is the weekly and monthly charts. They are where the bulk of the volume lies, and they are where smart money and the institutions go hunting. All right, so the biggest moves, logically, will come from the monthly and weekly charts. And speaking of time frames, there are some other ways to customize your time frame if you have TradingView Premium, and that can give you some insight into, for example, the weekly chart before it closes, right, with the 5-day chart. But that's a topic for later. All right. For now, we focus on these 3 points. For starters, you have this picture. This picture depicts a reality, which I will address in the next chapter in detail. But it's the truth. You saw me trade turtle soup. You tried 1 turtle soup, 2, 3, 4, and you quit midway. Here's one thing I'll tell you is, no matter what mentor you go to after me, if you do, I happen to have a quite high retention rate for students. But no matter what strategy you take, no matter what mentor you choose, which I don't recommend anyone except ICT, and if you resonate with turtle soup, then me. And maybe Kish for order blocks, right? But I don't recommend anyone. Why? Because if you have multiple sources of information telling you different things, then you'll be distracted. That's not a good learning environment. Have 1, 2 max sources of information which are in alignment, right? They complement each other. Otherwise, you're prone to committing this error, which is try one strategy and hop on to another one when it fails. There is a more in-depth discussion in the next chapter, but for this one, I will stop there. The learning curve of price action is 4 steps. No matter who you are in the entire world, if you from the moment you enter the market, from the very moment you sign up to MT4 or whatever broker you have, and from the moment you choose this path as a trader, of course, some sign up before choosing the path. From the moment you choose to be a trader, there's 4 steps you'll go through. Step 1 is receiving the information, and this learning curve is referring to the learning curve of analysis, right? And then it transitions into execution. Step 1, receiving the information. So I'll tell you the stuff I've told you in chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 6 is cancelled. Step 1 is receiving the information. And some of you were asking me why I canceled it, because the information in chapter 6 is not something I find appropriate to share right now. Because obviously I can't give you everything at once. That is just counterproductive to you. Right? So chapter 6 had some information in it, which I can't say much, but the information in chapter 6 is not at the level that you are studying right now. And I know there's some pretty advanced students in here who might have got their ego hurt by that, but it's the truth. And for those who are observant and astute and have a good memory, remind me of chapter 6 later on. Anyway, back to the presentation. The learning curve, step 1, receiving the information. Step 2, witnessing it work. Step 3, trading what you witnessed work. Step 4 is fixing the execution mistakes. Because forget profiting for a second. If you focused more on correcting the losses, then the only result is a profit, right? So put more emphasis on correcting mistakes rather than trying to discover the Holy Grail, all right? If you correct your mistakes, and people have this innate narcissism inside of them, even if they have not earned it, which is, the market is wrong. No, it's not wrong. You're wrong. So fix the mistakes you make when executing. Now to the charts. That little mini introduction / rant over. Price action details. When you open any chart, knowing what should happen is the first step. Bias and narrative. Bias is where, narrative is why and how. What does the process of anticipation look like? Something very little spoken about. Right? They all tell you FEG, order block, supply and demand, volume profile, Elliott wave, harmonics. They tell you how it works, but they don't tell you what you should be doing in the process of anticipation. That will be looked at over here. And what signatures will price demonstrate at the times of creating the low or the high of the candle. Very important. So for your sake, I hope you are taking notes. One of you DM'd me, he showed me that he was taking notes even on my rants. You can do that. I do slip some information mid-rant, so if you are persistent enough to listen, then you have caught them. Anyway, higher time frame directional bias. How does one go about determining the higher time frame bias? Because as we know, it is a critical element of a successful turtle soup consistent trader, is correct identification of the higher time frame directional bias. And this is something I introduced to Twitter last year. Before I came on Twitter last year, I noticed that everyone with very little exception. We're trading market structure shifts and breakers and order blocks, right? Even order blocks, not that many. But they all waited for the market structure shift and the OTE and the FVG. Those are the hot ones. Nobody paid attention to one of the most key elements, and I find that ironic, which is the higher time frame, the higher time frame directional bias. Now, of course, 1 year later, as you can see, the effect is palpable. The higher time frame bias has become the norm. Yet they still don't know all the details, and I will gloss over some in this one. So, how does one go about determining the higher time frame bias? Highs, lows, FVGs, opens, and closes. And before we continue, I'd like to tell something to those of you who don't like the rants. It's understandable, right? But if you can't stand the rants, then you don't deserve the knowledge that comes with the rants or before and after the rants. Ask questions when determining a higher time frame directional bias. Ask questions such as, what is a safe low as a stop loss? What is a conservative target? What opening price are we respecting or disrespecting? What PD arrays are we respecting / disrespecting? What breakers are we respecting or disrespecting? What are the odds a gap doesn't get filled? Because as you may, if you've been trading ICT for more than 3-4 months, then you know that sometimes you mark an FVG and the FVG doesn't work, right? Why does that happen? Why? Are they using down close candles for support? Or are they using up close candles to sell? As we know, smart money buys in down close candles during a bullish or a buy program, and they sell in up close candles when you're bearish. When you ask these questions to yourself, then ask yourself also why. What is a safe low as a stop loss? The low that rebalanced in FVG. Why? What is a conservative target? Those equal highs. Why? Because they overlap with a higher time frame FVG, and a higher time frame FVG, which has equal highs on the low time frame, is a high quality target. That's an example. Market profiles, an important topic. The market makers, they don't move price in vertical lines, right? That's not wise. It's not possible, first of all, due to the amounts traded. And it's not the way the markets move, because if they did move that way, then you'd all make money. No one would ever lose. It's just going up or down. No. What happens is they go in consolidations and then trend, consolidation, trend, consolidation, trend, and every consolidation leads to an expansion. All of them, right? You will never find a market consolidating forever. And if you do find a market that is consolidating for a long time or for an extended period, and I say period relative